I open myself to the love that is you. As it moves to me and through me, I become one with all the essence of being. As a conduit of your expression, I demonstrate your gifts of kindness, compassion, tolerance, gentleness, and peace in all my intentions. In the name of the living Christ, amen. Join with me now in blessing our children everywhere on our planet. We love you. We bless you. We truly appreciate you, just the way you are, and we behold the Christ in you. Good morning. I'm Dwayne Morris, your worship assistant today on Valentine's Day. On behalf of Unity in the Olympics, located in Fort Angeles, Washington, I welcome you to our Sunday celebration service. Our building is closed at this time, yet our hearts and minds remain open to share love and light with you always. We welcome you wherever you are, and thank you for joining us for our virtual service on Facebook and on YouTube. As a note, this next week we'll be moving into phase 2 in Clallam County in Washington. We've been really hard at work on getting our heating and air conditioning fixed, our cleaning, our monitoring, our gardening, even sweeping the snow off the sidewalks, and blessing our grounds. So you'll hear more this week about what's happening in phase 2 as we start to gather to rejoin in our sanctuary once again. Let us honor the silence for a brief moment as we center ourselves and connect deeper to the oneness. Join with me now as we recite together our declaration of faith, the fundamental principle of unity in the Olympics, as well as our unity movement. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Now take a nice deep breath and exhale all of it, all the way out. And then join me one more time in saying our declaration of faith. There is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. The Daily Word is a bi-monthly publication by Unity. It offers inspiration and practical teachings through daily prayer messages to help people of all faiths live healthy, prosperous, and meaningful lives. The magazine includes daily affirmations, scripture, prayer messages, articles, spiritual poetry, and more. The Daily Word is a wonderful way to start any day. So for today, February 14th, 2021, the Daily Word is heart expression. And the affirmation is, You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart. Sharing love is a wonderful way of discovering and responding to the divinity alive in every heart, blinding us as human family. Binding us, not blinding us. My loving nature helps me see the best in every person whose life touches me. Today, I remember one of the legends of Saint Valentine, in which he fashioned pieces of parchment into hearts, which he gave to others as tokens of his compassion and God's love. Today, the tradition continues when I say, you are dear to me, I hold you in my heart, with a card, gift, a call, flowers, or a simple act of kindness. I share love with no expectation of reciprocation, and my heart welcomes every expression of love from others. Love's energy grows through both giving and receiving. From John 13:34, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, you also should love one another. Let us repeat today's affirmation one more time. You are dear to me. I hold you in my heart.
All that I am today
Today, Valentine's Day, February the 14th, our guest speaker is Terry Barrett. Terry brings us the message, celebrating the power of love. There are so many words written about love. We talk about it, we search for it, and even avoid it at times. February brings us Valentine's Day for celebrating love. Join Terry Barrett as she takes us on a journey of celebration. Through the words of many extraordinary experts, love is a power worth celebrating. Terry comes with a love of spiritual awareness and connection. She is the mother of a five, including a young man who is developmentally differently disabled. Terry completed a master's degree in Divinity at Marylhurst University and continues her journey in ministry. She has received many rich training experiences in social and emotional learning, as well as since completing her degree. She is getting acquainted with unity in the Olympics and enjoying the process. Welcome, Terry.
Thank you, Wayne. I am so glad to be here this morning. Valentine's Day is a great day. So we're coming together to celebrate love today on Valentine's Day. And I just want to ask you now to close your eyes and just think back to a time when you were in this sanctuary with a group, this blessed community, and just remember what that felt like. Imagine that you're there right now, seeing the faces of the people that are dear to you. And then just think of one person that you feel that warmth and that love for, that you can just hold right now. What a blessing it is to have a community to share love for each other and to send it out into the world. So right now, just think of a loving affirmation that you can hold for that person and send to that person. And just take that a minute to hold that, and stay in that place for a moment and feel the love that comes from just imagining being in this place together, physically together again. Now bring that love into your heart for yourself and wrap your arms around yourself and just give yourself a big hug. We are celebrating the power of love. Just take it in. All right. Woo. Well, the power of love, it's in the principles we know as truth. And that first principle is God is all there is. God is love. God is beauty. God is all there is. And so the Course in Miracles tells us that the opposite of love is fear. But what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So really, all there is love. We just get kind of caught up in other ways of thinking sometimes. Deepak Chopra tells us the essence of love is a state, not a feeling. He says the definition of love is the experience of unity. Marianne Williamson teaches from Course in Miracles. She tells us that love is energy. It is the true essence. And if God is all there is, that makes sense to me too. Well, Erich Fromm wrote a neat little book called The Art of Loving. And I used it to kind of structure my thesis when I wrote a thesis about an interdisciplinary study on love. Let me tell you, that was an interesting study, and there's a lot to be taken in with that. He said we must make love the most important thing. He tells us that love includes the basic elements of care, respect, responsibility, and knowledge. So based in the experience, we are all one, and it is between equals, as we all are, regardless of life circumstances. We go to the second principle, which says we are the unique individualized expression of God. God is all there is, and we are one with that. We are an expression of that divine love. In fact, I've heard it said that the Hindus said that God wanted to experience itself, and here we are. I like that one. Well, there has been so much written. Love is such a powerful thing. There has been so much written, and we go back 2,000 years ago to the Apostle Paul, who wrote the words that everyone knows from Corinthians chapter 13. Listen to these words and just take them in. Close your eyes for a moment if you want, because I know you've heard them many times. If I speak the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardships, then I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, but where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection, as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I will know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. The Course in Miracles tells us to teach only love, because that's what we are. But when we forget, when we deny this, then we make what we are something we must learn to remember. So there we go, off on that continuous remembering who we really are. Such a challenge, isn't it? It's just a challenge to remember that you are love, that I am love. Our thoughts create our experience. That's our third principle, that our thoughts create our experience, that we are creating the experience we're having. Gandhi said, to be the change we want to see in the world. Well, we better start by taking a look at what we're thinking, because what we're thinking is what we're creating. So let's make sure that we're starting with what we want to see happening. Ernest Holmes is the founder of Science of Mind and the author of the book. He tells us that before we attempt to improve our conditions, before we proceed further on the subject of healing, it's necessary that we be pretty certain in our own minds that thought is creative, and basically what we're thinking about is what we're creating. So it's always working. We just may be creating what we don't want to see instead of what we do. So we learn to keep that on track. We come to a place of being centered in love. I recently had a training with Faye Mendel with this Kids at Hope that I've shared with you before. And she, as a psychologist, ended up taking a training in quantum physics and the spirituality around that. So she has written a whole training and a GPS, she calls it, that helps us stay centered in the present, because that's where our power is. If we're off worrying about the future, we're getting filled with anxiety and fear, panic attacks start happening. And, you know, we see a lot of kids really struggling with this right now. That worry, that's putting ourselves in the future. We're projecting what isn't even here right now. If we stay centered, we come back to peace. We're experiencing love. If we get caught up in a thought that goes around sadness, we can get back to guilt, and then we're caught in the past. wishing things were different, worrying about what happened, and it's already done and over with. We can bring it back to this moment, and we're back in our power again. And the same thing happens when we start putting blame on other people and other circumstances. We're out of our own center and our own power. When we come back into a place of love, we're in that center of ourselves where we experience love. So I have a story I want to share with you today. And this was something I found when I was writing my thesis. It's from a little book called Return from Tomorrow, where the author had experienced a near-death experience. And he went into the army during World War II and was being trained as a doctor. And as the war was over, he was involved with helping some of the camps where people were in such terrible physical shape. And so he was going to the camps to help people find homes, their records, to help take care of these people. So this story is about, there was a man whose name was 7 unpronounceable syllables in Polish, but he had a long, drooping handlebar mustaches, like pictures of the old Western hero, Wild Bill. So the Americans started calling him Wild Bill. He was one of the inmates of the concentration camp, but it was obvious to the Americans that he hadn't been there very long because he was in such good physical health and strength. Since he was fluent in English, German, Russian, French, and Polish, he became a kind of an unofficial camp translator. He was a good guy to have around. The author, Richie, said, "We came to him with all sorts of problems. The paperwork was staggering and attempting to relocate people whose families, even whole hometowns, might have disappeared. But though Wild Bill worked 15 and 16 hours a day, he showed no signs of weariness. While the rest of us were drooping with fatigue, his strength seemed to gain through the day. We have time for this old fellow, he'd say. He's been waiting here all day." His compassion for his fellow prisoners glowed on his face. And it was to this glow that I came when my spirits were low, says Richie. So I was astonished to learn, he says, when Wild Bill's own papers came before us one day, that he had come to this camp in 1939. He had been there for 6 years, lived on the same starvation diet, slept in the same airless and disease-ridden barracks as everyone else, but without the least physical or mental deterioration. Perhaps even more amazing was every group in the camp looked on him as a friend. He was the one to whom all others came when they needed to have somebody support them in working out a struggle. Only after he'd been at Wuppertal, the camp he was at, a number of weeks, did I realize what a rarity this was in a compound where the different nationalities of prisoners hated each other almost as much as they hated the Germans. "It's not easy for some of them to forgive," I commented to him one day as we sat over mugs of tea in the processing center. "So many of them have lost members of their families." Wild Bill leaned back in the upright chair and sipped his drink. "We lived in the Jewish section of Warsaw," he began slowly. These were the first words I had heard him speak about himself. "My wife, our 2 daughters, and our 3 little boys. When the Germans reached our street, they lined everyone up against a wall and opened up with machine guns. I begged to be allowed to die with my family, but because I spoke German, they put me in a work group." He paused, perhaps again seeing his wife and 5 children. "I had to decide right then," he said, "whether to let myself hate the soldiers who had done this. It was an easy decision," he said. "Really, I was a lawyer. In my practice, I had seen too often what hate could do to people's minds and bodies. Hate just killed the 6 people who mattered most in the world to me. I decided then that I would spend the rest of my life, whether it was a few days or many years, loving every person I came into contact with. Loving every person. There was the power that had kept a man well in the face of every privation. It's such a powerful story when we see the difference that living in that love makes. It's a physical experience, it's a mental experience, it's a spiritual experience. It's allowing God to shine through us at that moment, even in the toughest experiences. Well, the fourth principle is that it tells us that we have tools for transforming our consciousness into the experience we want. Myrtle and Charles Fillmore found their way to these tools to experience physical healing. Myrtle Fillmore had tuberculosis and was so ill that she couldn't even care for her own children. She heard a healer share this affirmation that changed her understanding about, I am a child of God. There is no sickness in me. I cannot be ill. And this affirmation began a long journey of her learning to live from that understanding. She and Charles went on to live to buy 58 acres in Kansas City, Missouri, where Unity Village remains today and continues to teach. So love for myself is part of the tool that I have to come to. How can I feel love for someone else if I can't feel it for myself? Loving myself looks like kindness, compassion, empathy, respect, honesty, the same as it looks for others that I feel love for, that I experience love for. As I love myself, I begin to heal the wounds that have created the experience of separation that I might be experiencing. And with that comes forgiveness, because as long as I'm holding that against someone else, anything against someone else or something else, then I'm caught there and I'm not in my center and my power of celebrating love. That is what allows me freedom, is to let go. It doesn't mean we forget. We can still remember what happened. We can still deal with things we need to work with from that, but we do not have to stay attached to it. We forgive and we let it go. We can open our hearts and minds when we know that we are living in a celebration of this power of love. When I see you, I see that face of God. And God is never hard to find. You can look around. It may not always look the way you want to see it. It's in your family, your friends, even those people that are so challenging to you. And still, you can find the face of God right there. Love is an activity, says Erich Fromm, a power of the soul. To really love one person, we love all persons, and we love the world. We love life. Well, I've been reading the book Adventures in Resilience by Sharon Connors that talks about the 12 powers, which love is one of those powers. And she informs us that choosing the way of love can help people with increased harmony and coherence in the body. You know, we find all kinds of things out there to spend our money on trying to stay young. Well, here's one that really works. When you are in a place of love, your body and your mind and your spirit stay alive. They stay healthy and well. Just like Wild Bill demonstrated, it works. Less stress means that we are a happier people. And Sharon, in her book, talks about the heart math with the research that's been done there, which I also used in my thesis, and it's pretty fascinating. If you haven't ever seen that book, you might want to take a look. Well, Marianne Williamson teaches from A Course in Miracles. She wrote these now famous words on page 190 in her book, A Return to Love. She said, as I interpret the Course, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. She went on to say, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your plain small doesn't serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others might not feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine, as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God. And it's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Right now is a time that you could see that being a very good thing to happen in our world, and how important it is that we really stay true to this power, that we know who we are, and that we express that love of God through us. Well, Mother Teresa always had a way of putting things straight and direct. She said, it's easy to love the people far away. It's not always easy to love those close to us. Bring love into your home, for this is where our love for each other must start. And she said, we cannot do great things. We can only do small things with great love. And then she said, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. So let go of the judging and just stay in that center of love. In my work with the thesis that I wrote, I did a section on the spiritual part of love. And I used some of Houston Smith's work. And Houston Smith can articulate in a way that if you didn't feel that love before that Jesus brought to the world, he's going to give it to you. So I was so moved by the description he wrote. He said, the love of God was exactly what the first Christians felt through their firsthand direct experience of the love of Jesus and their strong belief that he was God incarnate. Love of this proportion, once experienced, was unstoppable. Christian love born out of this expression augmented their previous love for others to the degree that a new quality of love was born. The teachings of Jesus, he says, all have counterparts in the Hebrew scriptures. He wasn't here saying anything new, but the way he said it made it new. He taught us to love our enemies. Smith wrote that even beyond what Jesus said is the way he lived what he taught. His life, says Houston Smith, was one of humility, self-giving, and love. Jesus loved people, and great numbers of people loved him intensely. He loved children, and in proclaiming the good news, his disciples and followers impressed people through their transformed lives that they led. Well, finally, as I've shared some quotes, and there's so many more, love is just one of those really big topics. It's not always easy to stay expressing that love, but one of the things that my good friend Joanne Fisher reminded me of when I shared with her that I was putting this talk together was, we are the experts. We're all the experts on love. We don't have to go looking for somebody else to give us the information. We're here. We're that expression of God as love. You can't get any clearer about love than that. It's a personal experience. I love the words. One of my most famous quotes, most favorite quotes, I should say, was from Albert Einstein when he said, I want to know the thoughts of God. The rest are details. Well, and then there's one more expert that's pretty enjoyable, Louis Armstrong. He says, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. So we come to, out of this love, we can't help but feel gratitude. I mean, when you come to this place where you're feeling that love, you can't help but just have gratitude fill you. Gratitude for the love of life in this experience in my life. So what are you grateful for today? In this moment, I want to just ask us just to turn within now and just feel our gratitude for this wonderful time. Put our attention on the power of love that we can celebrate through this experience, through this life experience. Just breathe in and let yourself relax into a moment of meditation. Close your eyes as you take in another breath and feel love move in your heart now, expanding your capacity for more love, more joy, more good than you even knew you could experience. In this very moment, I am in the presence of divine love. I am a co-creator with God. So in this moment, God, I recognize the power of love that you are. I know that I live and move and have my being in you. All my needs are met. I know that I'm always loved, always supported and encouraged to live life in abundance and joy. This abundance shines on those who are experiencing lack in their lives as well. It shines on those who feel alone. It shines on those who are in need of healing. I open my heart and my mind to your will. I see a world that knows peace, that reflects the beauty of you, and distributes the abundance that is here and now, so that every single life on this planet has its needs fully met in every way. Let love be the way. With a grateful heart, I release this word, and so it is. Amen.
Thank you very much, Terry, for your those loving, creative thoughts. And it's such a wonderful day to do that too on a Valentine's Day. So I was during just at the end of the meditation, I was just thinking, sitting there thinking, don't you just love to love? I mean, if you think about it, the feeling of love, don't you just love that? Thank you very much. Know that we loved you, Terry. We bless you, Terry. And we really, truly appreciate you, Terry, for the way that you are. And we look forward to exploring more with you in our virtual fellowship garden after the service. The link you'll see available in the comments section to connect following the service. So join me now in saying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgiven our debtors. Leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom and the glory and the power forever and ever. Amen. Thank you in advance for sharing your tithes, gifts, and offerings with us this week. Let us take a moment to hold the thought of your gift in mind and join me in blessing our gifts together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love. Please send your gift by mail, if you would like to 2917 East Myrtle Street in Port Angeles, Washington 98362, or go to our website at unityintheolympics.org and click on the yellow donate button to pay by credit card or by PayPal. Using your imagination, join us in our closing circle. We gather here holding hands and standing close because we are safe in the powerful, sacred space of divine mind. Hold in mind the loving thought of a friend or loved one. See them in presence, feel them, behold them as whole, perfect, and complete as we bring to life James Dillett Freeman's prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. The health of God flows through us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is truly well. Thank you all for being with us today. Divine love prevails. Divine love prevails. Divine love prevails.